guys and dolls, and welcome back. Today I'm doing a very exciting video. This is a 1930s inspired makeup tutorial. I researched this extensively. I don't know why I'm making this face. What's interesting is when I think like vintage and 1930s and stuff, I don't really think of like colorful cosmetics until like maybe like blue eyeshadow in like the 1960s. You know, I always think of everything as being relatively neutral, and you would think, you know, with the Depression happening and everyone being so absolutely destitute, things like makeup and costume jewelry and stuff would have been like the first things to go, right? No, my friend. Women got so into cosmetics and costume jewelry and everything in the 1930s. It was really just this huge boon of all these amazing new industries. The cosmetic industry really had taken off. You know, makeup was now pretty much acceptable and almost necessary. And color cosmetics, not just rouge and lipstick, but, you know, nail polish and eyeshadow became very popular. There were all kinds of rules for makeup, like if you had red hair, you should wear green eyeshadow. So that's what I got going on today. So today's video is part of a larger collaboration that I'm doing with 7 other YouTubers. I will have a link to each of their videos in the description box down below, as well as having an end card at the end of the video, so you can go ahead and just click straight from the video. I am so excited about this collaboration. I've seen a couple people's looks already and I can't wait to see everyone else's. If this is your first time seeing my channel, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Cora. I make videos. I live in California. I think I'm the only American actually in this whole little collab thing, so that's kind of cool. There's a lot of people from down under, so I want to say hello to all my existing subscribers from both New Zealand and Australia and just all over the world. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. I appreciate it so much. And I guess without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the look. As makeup trends moved from the 1920s through the 1930s, the brow shape was still kept really thin, which is why, as you guys can see here, I've actually shaved my eyebrows down a considerable amount just for this tutorial, just for you guys. But I did keep with a more of an arch shape because that is what was popular in the 1930s. I didn't go for the extreme arch that, say, like Jean Harlow would wear. I went for something that would actually be flattering for me, since this is my face and, you know, I gotta live with the shaved off eyebrows. I actually ended up liking them, so that was a bonus. Then I took a little bit of concealer in 2 different tones. I used a lighter shade and then a pinker shade, since color theory was so important in the 1930s. And I'm using these to really emphasize the underside of the arch, make sure that it's nice and crisp and very, very thin. I actually am using the concealer to camouflage some of the brows that I didn't shave off, so I'm making them look even thinner than what I had shaved them down to be. And then I take a big fluffy synthetic brush to blend that out. This is something I do in my everyday makeup anyway, but it happens to work really well for this particular tutorial. I then set that with a little bit of powder. This is MAC's Orb eyeshadow. Again, going with color theory, this is a more pink toned, you know, fleshy highlighter. In the 1930s, women would commonly apply Vaseline to their eyelids to get a kind of oily, shiny appearance, and for daytime they would really just put a little bit of the Vaseline on with a neutral colored eyeshadow. I'm doing a nighttime look, so what I'm doing is I'm using a modern day cream concealer all over the eyelid, and what this is going to do is it's going to act like glue for the eyeshadow, so it's going to do a couple of different things. Because it's a cream product, it will naturally get a little bit shiny, and then I'm putting shiny eyeshadows on top of it. And then it's the way in which that I'm applying these eyeshadows. I'm putting the shiny color all over the mobile lid, and then I'm applying the deeper color into the inner and outer corners, and this is going to create that sort of heavy, I don't want to say like tired eye, but yeah, kind of like a heavy lidded look, which was very, very popular in the 1930s, popularized by many different actresses. Another thing that they did that I found really interesting is that they would actually apply an iridescent shadow all the way up to the brow bone. I didn't take it all the way up. I sort of blended out my darker colors, and then I went over the top edge of that with the shinier color because I didn't want to go like full on crazy with green all the way up to my eyebrows. I didn't think that was attractive. And even though I read that in multiple different, you know, publications and things, I didn't actually see any evidence of women taking eyeshadow all the way up to their eyebrow. For my liner today, I'm using a cake liner, which is a water activated cake thing. I'm not certain if they actually had cake liner in the 1930s, but I thought I would use some somewhat historical makeup in this tutorial. So I did a very, very thin line of that. I mean, whisper thin, super thin, with a push liner brush. This isn't terribly exciting, but by doing as thin of a line as possible, it helps make that lid look even heavier because it's not sharing as much of the space with the liner. In the 1930s, the look for skin was matte, flawless, flat, no shine, and just as flawless as you could get it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a pretty heavy duty sunscreen slash primer from MAC, putting that all over. And then I'm really going to go to town with MAC Fix Plus. This is a incredible foundation powder. If you want a full coverage from a powder, you can totally get it from this. You are going to have to apply a lot. And so what I'm doing, you guys can see, I am like caking this stuff on. This is very historically accurate. It's not really how I would do my makeup now, but it gives you that super perfected, super flawless. I don't even have to use concealer after I've used this. That's how crazy full coverage you can get from this powder. They even created special liquids that they would use on their hands and on their chest to match their face makeup. That's how people were so crazy about the complexion in those days. So once a woman had caked her face on with all kinds of powder, she would then take a large soft brush that looks a little bit more like a hairbrush than a modern face brush. I'm using a Sigma Kabuki because it's soft and it feels good and it helps smooth it all out and make it look delicious. By the 1920s, strip lashes had become incredibly common, but they were almost exclusively for length. They really weren't for volume. So I really like this pair from Daiso. They're, you know, a very cheap, artificial, almost straight type of lash, but they just give length and almost no volume. They give me that perfect doll-like 1930s type lash look that was so popular at that time. Going back to some of those makeup rules, if you were fair complected, you would want to use a brown eyeliner. As you guys can see on the upper lash line, I used black, but I wanted to use Whiskey Liner from Urban Decay on the bottom just to give me that sort of like reddish brown look. It goes really good with my artificial hair color here, and just smudge that out. I'm basically creating a frame for where I'm going to apply these false lashes on the bottom. I don't know if women actually wore false lashes on the bottom in the 1930s, but in all of the advertisements I saw, women had these thick, full bottom lashes, so they were either painting them on or doing eyeliner or something, I don't know. So I decided to do a small pair of falsies, and then I decided that my upper lash line just wasn't black enough, so I went over that with a little bit of gel liner from Inglot. If you're looking for a nice dark, cheap black liner, this one actually works really well. I then went over the lower lash line below my fake lashes with a little bit of the Dirty Martini color from earlier. This is just to keep the tones all looking the same and kind of marry the top with the bottom, just adding a little bit of color in that very outermost corner. I then went over my inner rims with a light colored flesh tone pencil. This one's from NYX. It's awesome. I totally recommend it. Love, 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 love. For lips today, I'm using a combination of MAC Lip Mix and an OCC color. I will have all that listed in the bottom for you. I can talk more about the difference between these two products another time because they're similar but they're different. Right now I want to talk about the lip shape. So what I did is the Cupid's bow in a very extreme kind of way. This is a very Jean Harlow-esque or Jean Harlow inspired lip. So it's very rounded at the peaks. It's very rounded at the Cupid's bow itself. And then it almost flares out at the bottom. So I did the rounded peaks, dipped it down, and then flared it back out again at the outer corners. It gives it sort of a playful vibe. It was very common in those days to paint the top lip and then stamp it down at the bottom to give you a balanced look. Women weren't really underdrawing their lips anymore in the 1930s. It was about balancing the lip as opposed to that sort of underdrawn that was so popular in the 1920s. For cheeks today, I again went with something that was somewhat historically accurate. I'm using a powder puff to apply my blush, which is what they did, but they actually used cream rouges in those days. And what they would do is they would apply the rouge before they applied the powder so it would have that lit within glow. And I'm going to actually go over it with powder in just a moment. And the main thing was to match the rouge to your lipstick as best you could or match it to your coloring. After I had applied this blush, I noticed that it was a little too pinky pink, so I went over it with a warmer blush. This one is almost like a peachy tangerine kind of color, so that mixed with the pinky pink blush is a perfect shade. And then as you can see, I'm going over that with just a little bit of powder just to sort of balance it out and give it that sort of the 1920s version of a lit within glow. Theirs was a no shine lit within glow, if that makes any sense. So that is the completed makeup look. Let me go ahead and go through some of my accessories with you. The wig that I have here is from eBay. It's a lovely curly auburn wig, and actually I'm so tempted to dye my hair this color because I like it that much. But anyway, if you're interested, I will have that linked below for you. My combs and the ring that I have here are both from Chinatown in San Francisco, so I picked those up recently and I was like, those are so perfect for my 1930s look that I'm doing. I like got all like hot and bothered in the store and they were looking at me like I was a weirdo, but you know, whatever. My pearls here are from Charming Charlie. Great place to go to get stuff like this. Nice quality costume jewelry at Charming Charlie, love them. And then these earrings are just from my collection of vintage costume jewelry. I'm a huge fan, huge collector of vintage costume jewelry, so these were just like completely perfect because they're green. My nails today are a half moon manicure, and I got this done at just a nail shop. I'm not used to having someone else do my nails, and to be honest, I didn't really do all that great of a job, but I tried doing it myself and I just couldn't make it happen. So I think I need to learn how to do this myself though, because I'm obsessed with it. It looks so cool. It makes your nails look so much, or your hands look so much more elegant and longer, and I can see why Dita Von Teese rocks this all the time. The half moon manicure was popular from the 1920s through the beginning of the 40s, so I had to include it. I just had to, my darlings. I had an absolute blast researching this and just finding out all the makeup rules of the 1930s. I mean, I'm telling you, there was just like so many rules. I think a lot of it is because the cosmetic industry took off, and a lot of the cosmetic industry was, informing people how to wear makeup because it was still a relatively new thing. But holy bejesus, there were so many rules. And when I was coming up with this, there were so many like varying viewpoints. Like, did I want to do a Jean Harlow kind of thing with like the super high, arch brows and the super cupid lip? Did I want to do like the Joan Crawford with the schmear and the thick brows? And I was like, you know what, let's take a little bit of this, take a little bit of that, and create like my own version of who I feel I would be as a 1930s woman. So that's what I've done here. Also a little bit inspired by my grandmother, just so you know. I hope you guys have enjoyed this little trip down makeup memory lane, and if you haven't already, check out the other videos in the series. Everyone is so talented. I've already seen a couple of the looks and I'm excited to see the rest of them. So I will have an end card here at the end of the video where you guys can go ahead and click on everyone's video, as well as have them listed in the description box down below. If you're new to my channel, I just want to say hello and thank you for hanging out with me and playing with makeup, and if you'd like to subscribe, I'd be so appreciative. Give me a thumbs up if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook if you're interested in more of this mug, and I will see you guys in my next video. Remember to just be yourself. See you, bye.